Say about six,
Huh?
6:30.
6 o'clock. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Sports Talk from Brooklyn football. We're going to talk about the Super Bowl and how that went and whatnot. Great stuff to talk about the Super Bowl. We're also going to talk a little NBA. Very exciting weekend in the NBA as the All Star game is fastly approaching. As a matter of fact, we got All Star game weekend festivities coming up. Really excited about that. Always been pumped uh, with the All Star game. If I had to really go back, as far as from a dunk contest purpose, man, I got to go back to 2019. I remember me and my brother Jimmy, we went to a local bar somewhere in Park Slope, and we saw, in my opinion, one of the best dunk contests I've ever seen in my lifetime when Zach Levine and Aaron Gordon were going head to head, man. That was just an amazing dunk contest. So I'm hoping, with the talent that they got now, as far as this year goes, they spice it up a little bit because, for you know, the past couple of years, it's sort of been dry. Well, listen, the All Star festivities, in general, has been pretty much watered down to begin with. So we have Spurs rookie Carter Bryant, Lakers center Jackson Hayes, Heat forward Kashawn Jackson, and Magic rookie Jace Richardson. That is the participants in the 2026 um, Slam Dunk Contest, which will be live in Los Angeles, February 14th. Three shootout contestants. That's going to be very interesting because to me, if you really look at the All Star festivities as far as what is structured and how it was, the 3-point contest has been probably the most exciting thing, and it really wasn't that excited to begin with, but it gave you a spark as far as just the All Star festivities in general. So for the All Star 3-point contest, we have Devin Booker for the Phoenix Suns, Colin Canepo, Duke guy. So definitely got to go with my Duke guy. Tyrese Maxey, who's shooting amazing from the 3-point line. He proved that last night against the Knicks. Donovan Mitchell, Jamal Murray, who's having an amazing, amazing year over there on Denver. Bobby Portis, which is interesting because I don't really think, Bobby Portis is really mostly a spot up shooter, give or take. But I was really surprised to hear that he was a part of it. Norman Powell of the Miami Heat is going to be a part of it. And Damian Lillard. And that's pretty much a very interesting thing, considering the fact that he has not played a game all year long with as he's been out recovering from a torn Achilles. So I guess from the heroic, underdog story, I'm sort of going for Lillard, even though I gotta go with my guy Canepo, Duke guy. I'm a big Duke college basketball fan, but I would not mind to see Damian Lillard, a guy who hasn't played all year, come out of nowhere. We all get to see him in that nostalgic Portland Trailblazer jersey once again, man, and go out there and define all the odds and hopefully take the 3-point contest home. So definitely very exciting weekend we got upon us with the All-Star Weekend live from Los Angeles. That will be the 13th, which is tomorrow, Friday the 13th. We have the celebrity contest, the celebrity game, and stuff like that. Just to me, Friday, I don't really look into like the also celebrity festivities. The real stuff comes on Saturday when you have the shooting star games, the rookies versus the sophomores, which I think is still called that. They changed the format with that. Obviously, three shootout, the dunk contest, like I reiterated a little while ago, and then obviously you have the All Star game, and I've been pleading this for many, many years. If you want to see competition, you have to structure it a different way. East and West, nobody plays defense. You have a 180 to 175 score, and it turns out to be a dunk contest. The last 2 minutes of the game, you gotta find some way where you can intrigue viewers and intrigue fans to tune in. And I think this may have do it. This may do it. You have the USA against the world, meaning we can see players like Luka Doncic and Nikola Jokic teaming up. Jamal Murray, Shea Gilgeous Alexander. Which, matter of fact, let me scratch that because Shea was not going to play with the abdominal strain. So, so many great players, all stars, and obviously you got good players like Jalen Brunson, who's starting Tyrese Maxey. I mean, that backcourt itself is going to be phenomenal to see. Just to see those two start together side by side as far as the starters go. So it's just really, really good stuff. I cannot. This is the first time since probably 2019 that I've been excited. So let's go over the rosters for both teams. So you got Scotty Barnes of the Toronto Raptors. You got Devin Booker of the Phoenix Sun. You got Cade Cunningham. You got Jalen Duran. You got Anthony Edwards. Sorry about that. Weird. That phone never really rings like that. Scared the hell out of me. You got Ant-Man, Anthony Edwards. You got Chet Holmgren. Jalen Johnson, who's really having a breakout year for them. Watch him out because he's going to be a name that people are going to talk to. Obviously, I mentioned earlier Tyrese Maxey. And you got that is for the USA Stars. There's two different USA teams. You got the Stars and you got the Stripes. So for the Stripes, you got Jaylen Brown of the Boston Celtics, Jalen Brunson of the New York Knicks, Kevin Durant for the Houston Rockets, De'Aaron Fox for the Spurs, Brandon Ingram for the Raptors. Obviously, LeBron James made it as a reserve. Kawhi Leonard, Donovan Mitchell, and Steph Curry. I do not expect Steph Curry to play. I know he's been struggling with a knee injury for the past couple of days. And just want to quote something on LeBron James because, he is 41 years old. This could possibly be his last All-Star game. He hasn't really gone on record as far as, what his future holds. But if it is, I advise people to just tune in and continue to watch greatness because as far as from an All-Star game standpoint, this could very well be the last time we see LeBron James competing in an All-Star game. So the respective coaches for the Stars and Stripes is JB Biggerstaff and Mitch Johnson. Now for the world roster, which is just stacked. Danny Avia, who's really, he can obviously be a contestant and a player for comeback player of the year, or at least most improved player of the year. Luka Doncic, you got the Joker and Jokic with Jamal Murray, you got Norman Powell, you got Alperen Sengun, Pascal Siakam, Karl Anthony Towns, Wemby, Victor Wembanyama, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Do not expect Giannis to play in that game. He has been out for quite a while now with that growing injury. And the coach for the world will be Toronto's head coach in Darko Rajokovic. I think I'm saying it right. But yeah, this is going to be some good stuff, man. This is going to be quite the All-Star game. I'm a huge fan of this format. I was saying this for a couple of years now that to spice it up, to really see who is the best as far as the Americans and, the international players. Obviously, the international players are just immaculate. You can easily say at least 5 out of your top 10 as far as like NBA players. At least you have about 5 or 6 international players who are there as far as like the best overall player in the NBA. We're talking about Joker. We're talking about Wemby. Obviously, Shea Gilgeous Alexander, hailing from Canada. So you got him going on. So Sengun is another guy. I don't know about best player, but he's definitely an exceptional player to watch. But listen, this is going to be good. And as dried out as the All Star festivities has been, in my opinion, within the past couple of years, this might just work. At least for the NBA's sake, I hope that it does because you're trying to correlate things and change things around to spice it up to get the viewers' attention and add more ratings. And it's just listen, it's an all-star game. Obviously, it's the NBA's way of thanking the fans and stuff like that. But you also, it's supposed to create fun. I get all of that, but in the same token, you want a fun yet competitive game to display why these players were voted in by the fans and why these players are considered some of the top players in all of basketball. So definitely cannot wait to tune in and see that out. Fortunately, let me stop myself. Fortunately, but unfortunately, mix up both. I will be out with my lady, my lovely lady, for a Valentine's Day dinner. I'm gonna check out this nice spot that I found in Tribeca, and hopefully next week I will be able to tell you guys about that. But I will have the All Star game and the All Star festivities on DVR, and I'll catch the All Star game with my dad, like we always do every year, and tune into some good old basketball, man. So definitely, really good stuff to watch out for. Um, as far as this weekend goes, it's one of the most exciting weekends around. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, as you guys know, I'm a big wrestling fan. Love WWE. I can mess with AEW here and there, but Royal Rumble, which was a couple of weeks ago, was one of my favorite events. So I every time January, February comes around, just super exciting. You got the Royal Rumble coming up at the end of January. You got the All Star game. I'm a super sneakerhead, so usually in the month of February, you got a lot of heat that is coming out, and just sports at its finest. You got spring training on the horizon for both the Yankees and the Mets. For me, as you can see, it's always this New York or nothing at all. So super excited for the month of February. And then it's like we got about what 6 more weeks of the winter, and this has been a brutal winter, man. I'm done with it. This is whatever punishment that we're going through. We learned our lesson, whatever that may be from Mother Nature. But I'm ready for some 50-degree weather, 60-degree weather, sweatpants, and pea coat all day, baby, all day. But we're gonna get into some football. Obviously, the football season has come into an end, and congratulations to the Seattle Seahawks for winning the Super Bowl this year, their second one in franchise history by defeating the Patriots. It wasn't as competitive as you would have thought it would be, but all in all, you saw the growth of Sam Darnold. And I tell you one thing, man, I was at my sister-in-law's house up in Scarsdale watching the game with her and my fiance and whatnot. And I really thought watching the game, I would have sort of bitterness watching Sam Darnold, considering the fact that he was a former Jet at one time. Leonard Williams was a former Jet. Jason Myers was a former Jet. But when you're a fan like me, as sad and pathetic it may sound. So I was really excited, hoping that the Jets organization will practice patience with Sam Darnold. I mean, he had a pretty good career at USC. You didn't really see much of the framework because he only played one season. I think he only played like 11 games and whatnot. But as far as like the talent was never an issue. It was more of just him not having the pieces around him. Honestly speaking, um, the Jets' offensive line, at least within the past couple of years, has been retooled and whatnot. Obviously, there's still a long ways for the Jets as an organization, as a team, to get better. But man, it's kind of like you always hear that prototypical saying, as far as like the one that got away, from romantic purposes, obviously, but from a sports standpoint, Sam Darnold was definitely the one that Jet fans, you know, would just be like, damn, like that's definitely the one that got away. But I stood there proud, had my Jets fitted on, had my Sam Donald throwback Jets jersey on, and I watched a guy who wore the my favorite team's colors go out there and win himself a trophy. But I want to also shout out Drake May, man. Drake May had a amazing sophomore year. To have a year last year where they only won 4 games to a year where they ended up going all the way to the Super Bowl is nothing short of amazing. So shout out to Drake May and the New England Patriots. I'll be lying to you guys if I was not excited that a New England or a Boston related team went down in shambles. So I'm sorry. That's just the New York in me, man. That's just the New York in me. Like, you know, it is what it is. You can ask anybody around. If you're a New York guy and you're going for, if you're a Yankee fan, if the Yankees are out and Boston just happened to be there, you're hoping somebody like Seattle or Houston. Well, I don't know, Houston. Well, and from baseball terms, Houston and Boston is kind of like the same thing. So yeah, but the one thing I did want to address outside the game is Donald Trump's comments. Now, I know some people had issues with it with Bad Bunny performing as far as them being a language barrier and this being America's game and so forth. Listen, I get all of that, but this is called this country is called the United States. The key word in that is united. So we can sit there and lollygag and facilitate and just promote how good we are as a country and what we stand for as far as equality and things of that nature. But if we can't channel that, then it doesn't mean a damn thing, honestly speaking. Bad Bunny, obviously, he's one of the hottest artists in the music game today. Me being of Latino descent, I was extremely proud of his performance. And listen, it's not like he just went there. Everybody's looking at this the wrong way. As far as the tabloids that I've read, the news that I've seen, where people just being really bent out of shape. And it's funny because when the Epstein files came out, everybody pretended like they didn't understand that. But when a guy where all he does is came from the trenches, he had a dream. He's channeling the dream. He's going out there and he's making something of himself and he's putting the Latin community, just minorities in general, on the map, saying, hey, I can do it, you can do it. Same thing with Kendrick Lamar. I thought Kendrick Lamar's performance last year spoke so much value. So much value. And just going on and seeing these comments and these news reporters just say, oh, well, I would like to tune in and see something in English. I would like to. It's a damn halftime show. Like, just stop. It's a damn halftime show. It was an amazing show. And listen, although he shouted out a lot of the Spanish speaking country, he also said God bless America about 5 damn times. So it wasn't like, I seen one reporter saying that it was one of the worst performances that she's seen, which is pretty much what Donald Trump said. Now, if we're judging, and this is where I feel like as a country we're sort of divided. And the purpose of this country is supposed to be what it's supposed to stand for, as far as united we stand. So we have to make sure that stands for a purpose and it's not just a prototypical cliche that we thrown out there, you know? And truthfully speaking, this country was built on immigrants. That's just what it is, you know? And for my sense, everybody should have this is supposed to be the land of equality. You know, it doesn't matter what who performance or what person got this sort of job or whatnot. But I think Dr. King said it best when he said that he wants his kids to be not be judged by the color of the skin, but the content of the character. And I think our country as a whole needs to really channel that because Bad Bunny hasn't done anything but go out there, represent his country, his native of Puerto Rico, represent the Latin community and just minorities from a generosity statement. And he's got fans from all different type of races: black, white, Hispanic, European. And I felt what he said at the Grammys was strong because in this country there is a lot of hate from different nations, which is really sad. You know, it's also it's ultimately scary. I was having this conversation, with my fiance regarding my 7-year-old niece. I don't really get into my personal life too much in here, but just want to give you this insight of why I felt Trump's comments and the negative comments regarding the Super Bowl was not only egregious, but it was just downright disgusting. My 7-year-old niece has autism, and it's a challenge for myself. It's a challenge for my sister, her mother, and it creeps up into your mind as far as how is she going to be treated? Be treated differently because she just happens to be different. You know, it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with her. She's just different. And if we're going to sit here as a society, as a country, and just pass judgment based on how somebody looks or the color of somebody's skin, then I think that's where the problem lies. Because if there's one thing that Trump has shown us is that racism is alive and is alive and is alive than it has ever been. I thought his comments were disgusting. I thought it was egregious. Part of me feels, and this is not a throwing a shot, but if this was, let's say, someone like a Taylor Swift, would this even be an issue? Would this even be a conversation? You know, I go, me and my fiance, we go to these different countries, and I think the one fascinating thing that we go to these countries is just to learn how different communities, different cultures, how they live, how they eat, the language and stuff like that. Me personally, I find that so amazing to see how people live and how they commute and just the culture, from the food, because my big ass always got to eat something. But the point of the matter is that the one thing that life presents us is experience and learning curves, whether it's good or bad. And like I said on this telecast last year when I was talking about PJ, and we have to really appreciate one another and just love each other, man, because there's too much hate already displayed on a platter for us to just add more fuel to the fire within that hate. When all we need to do is just support each other, man, because you don't know when someone that you care about, someone that you love, someone you support is no longer going to be here, whether they retire or whether they pass. Life has a way of humbling you, man. It really does. Um, I don't want to really get all off topic and stuff like that, but I just felt like I needed to air that out and let people know that we are responsible for the positive that we bring in this society within our culture. Um, I find it a beautiful thing to be able to have the privilege of visiting other countries. I've been to Jamaica. Obviously, the motherland for me is Costa Rica. I've been to Mexico a few times. I went to St. Lucia last year, and just learning and just seeing how people are, and there's just so much happiness, and obviously they live so much different than we do, and they're not crying or bitching about it. Excuse my language. They're living their lives and they're making the best of it, and they're supporting each other. And I think that's what um, this country. I think that's what Trump needed to do is just support Bad Bunny within his performances. Listen, if you didn't understand it, then do something that us as individuals should be doing in the first place. Learn something new, whether it's cooking classes or whether it's learning a new hobby or picking up a basketball. There's always room to learn and be better people and to add something under your belt. Like, okay, well, you know what? I didn't know how to do this before. Now I do now. But for a guy who's supposed to be our leader and to say what he said was just egregious. It was disappointing. And for the people that were crying and going on about, oh, well, I would have liked to have seen a performance that spoke English. Is that the real problem? What it is? Is that what really bothered you guys? Or is it something else? 917-319-5481 is that dial to call. Again, I didn't mean to overlap on that, but I just felt that needed to be said. That needed to be said for me. I'm very proud for what Bad Bunny did as far as going out there performing. He showed out not only for his country, all Latin American countries, or minorities, and even the USA. He showed out for the USA. He said what he said, and it was just I was proud. I couldn't be any more proud. And truthfully, truthfully speaking, it was an amazing performance. You had there was an engagement that took place. You had the Piragua truck there. You had him growing up in the fields and the culture of Puerto Rico, and just the music in general, man. It's just listen when you learn certain languages and stuff like that. There's always different languages and different cultures that converge to love. I think that's exactly what was his message. Exactly what he said in the Grammy. The only thing stronger than in hate is love. And I think us, from a generosity standpoint, we need to really channel that. We need to just, love each other and appreciate each other more because, again, we don't know if that person is going to be with us then, now. Obviously, they're not going to be here forever. So if we could just take the opportunity and just stand up as a community, as a culture, as a country, it shouldn't. First of all, the Super Bowl, obviously, everybody tunes in for the performance and stuff like that, especially if you're a casual football watcher. If you're a sports fan like me, you just want to see a good damn game, and you just want to see two teams lay it all out on the line to see who is worthy enough to be crowned Super Bowl champion. Now, again, I get it. Super Bowl, the performance is the cream of the crop. Is one of the most amazing things that we will see all year, at least to begin the year. But I had no issues with Bad Bunny. I don't listen really to his music like that. I'm still stuck in the '90s and the 2000s with the hip hop and the R&B, if you ask me. But I thought it was very humbling. It made me proud to be not only of Latino descent, but a son of an immigrant, and I just thought he went out and he kicked ass in that Super Bowl. He really did. So we're gonna shift gears now, and we're going into the NBA. Back to the NBA, and I'm gonna give you guys my winners and losers as far as the NBA trade deadline. So the winners that I have, the one I have on my list is the Washington Wizards. I think trading for Anthony Davis, obviously the way it looks now, if he is a healthy Anthony Davis, that is nothing but gold struck when you add him and Trey Young going into the 2026-2027 season. Obviously, Anthony Davis, when healthy, he's 20 and 10 in his sleep. Easy. 20 points, 10 rounds in his sleep. Easy. The same thing with Trey Young. Trey Young, whether it was injury or not, or just him not fitting into Atlanta's system, on a good day, even especially with him healthy, 15, 20 points. I think last year or the year before, he led the league in assists. This is a guy that can give you 15, 20 points, 11 assists when healthy. And I think when you bring those guys together, they obviously, when you have players that chip on their shoulders, they're going to go and they're going to show up. And I think when you add these two players that have the same common goal, and that's to win, and that's to show the rest of the league, like, hey, I'm still that guy, I'm still that problem, it's going to be something amazing to watch if they are healthy. And that's obviously a huge question mark when we're talking about one Anthony Davis. But I just thought Washington being able to do that was just amazing. It was weird because, we were hearing as far as like the rumors goes, like, there's conversations between Dallas and LA. I'm like, I don't even know why Dallas would even do that again. But, there was conversation between Dallas and the Lakers. I heard Toronto being in the mix for Anthony Davis services. That definitely would have been amazing too. When you can add Scotty Barnes and Anthony Davis, as your front court, that would have been definitely something good. Along with a healthy R.J. Barrett, you got Emmanuel quickly. That definitely would have been something to watch for. But yeah, I got Washington as my number one as far as winners goes. I like what they did as far as making that trade for Anthony Davis, and obviously, if they are healthy, getting him and obviously Trey Young a few weeks prior to that, Washington could be. I'm not gonna put them up as far as like the top echelon in the Eastern Conference because you still got Indiana. As far as next year, as far as us talking about what could possibly have next year, you still got Indiana with the return of Trey Young. They got Ivica Zubac, who's a really, really good center and a nice, solid replacement. The replacement that they were looking for ever since Evan Turner. Turner left for Milwaukee. So they got their guy in Zubac. Obviously, the engine runs with Tyrese Halliburton. Tyrese Halliburton is scheduled to be back next year after his torn Achilles in late last year. So definitely think that Washington could be in the middle of that, depending on what the East looks like around this time, come November with free agent transactions and things of that nature. It's going to be very interesting to see, but I love what they did as far as getting those two players to set the tone. And then obviously, you got the young freshman Sar, who can easily be groomed by one Anthony Davis, and we're seeing his numbers go up this year. So that's definitely an improvement when you can have a rookie from last year show out and improve, physically wise and just performance wise this year. So you got him in the fold, and I think Washington could be at least in the conversation as far as knocking on the door as far as playoff supremacy goes. The Boston Celtics, the Boston Celtics, I got them as a winner. I think them getting a floor general spacer in Nikola Vucevic was something that they needed, and a guy that gave you 15, maybe 8, maybe 10 a game. He's a really good passer. He spaces the floor for them, and they got a nice core of centers there up in Boston. So I definitely like that move. I think it was the one move that they definitely made that I felt like that was a really good move to make. You know, just an amazing move to be able to get that. I was hoping that he would find his way to Brooklyn, but then again, that would probably have to be Claxton going the other way. And I kind of like Nick Claxton in the Brooklyn Nets uniform. So I'm glad that the Nets did not make a move for that. But what he does for that team, obviously he's a floor spacer, like I just said, um, and provides depth for them, and is just a good, solid player, for a potential playoff run. We can't rule out Jason Tatum's return. I know he was reported to Boston's G League team, and he was a full participant in practice. So that is nothing short but amazing, considering the fact that an Achilles is usually a year plus as far as proper rehabilitation and recovery. So the fact that he is doing basketball drills right now and he is a full participant in basketball drills is insane. That just shows you his dedication not only to the city of Boston, but his dedication to the game of basketball in general. So again, it's very hard for me to cheer for these anything Boston, but you know, you can call it a true underdog story, man. I can cope with that. I think one part, sometime in our life, we've all been underdogs in some aspect, in some capacity in our lives. So shout out to Jason Tatum for putting in that work, man. But I hope that when Brooklyn turns into playoff supremacy and we run into you guys, we're gonna take you guys down. But definitely good stuff with Jason Tatum and Boston making that move for Nikola Vucevic. OKC Thunder. OKC Thunder. I got. I think the move for Jerry McCain couldn't have come at a better time. Oh, excuse me. Considering the fact that Shea Gilgeous Alexander is going to be out for a few. We don't know. There's not a timetable, at least from what I've read and stuff like that, as far as what OKC plans to do with him moving forward. Obviously, he's one of the best, if not the best player in the NBA right now. So you obviously want to protect that investment and to protect a team that is pretty much in possession to win it all again this year, and you're adding a guy in Jerry McCain who is a good scorer, and again, depth. As if OKC didn't need more depth, they got it with Jerry McCain. He's a young scorer. I think he's 23, 24 years old. I could be wrong with that, but you know, it's the perfect move to make considering the fact that you can now tend to Shea Gilgeous Alexander abdominal strain as far as checking the severity of it and whatnot. OKC doesn't necessarily need to rush him back because you still got Jalen Williams there who can score the ball at will, and he's gonna probably be the next person to score some buckets on a consistent basis for the OKC Thunder. You got Lou Dort who can give you a bucket or two, defensive glue, to go along with Alex Caruso over there. You got AJ Mitchell. AJ Mitchell is a name that a lot of people are just now knowing about as far as his consistency and whatnot. So again, really, really good, really, really good OKC team. Obviously, you got Isaiah Hartenstein there too. But yeah, just good stuff from the OKC Thunder, and just a team that just finds a way to get better. And I think McCain is really gonna pay dividends to their playoff run, and it's just a great insurance policy to have, considering your best player just went down with an injury. So yeah, so good stuff. So that is my winners. I'm also gonna put the Knicks out there as a winner, and I know they didn't really make the sexiest move, you know, as far as going out and making the big moves. Obviously, the sexy move would have been having Giannis Antetokounmpo in a New York Knicks uniform. But I think the fact that he wasn't moved at the deadline says, it gives the Knicks a better opportunity to go out there where they'll have some money off the books to go out there and facilitate a trade more with Milwaukee. What that trade will look like remains to be unseen, but I think if you're a New York Knicks fan, you obviously got to be happy about this. And I think what's so fascinating with World Wide West and Leon Rose is that they didn't make the same mistake that Donnie made a couple of years ago when they brought in Carmelo Anthony and a pretty good New York Knicks team that was. I want to say maybe it was about 10, has it been 10 years or more? I think it's been 10 years or more with that good team when they had a, a, a very young Raymond Felton at the time. They had Raymond Felton there. Obviously, you have Carmelo Anthony there and whatnot. Well, before that, they had Wilson Chandler there, who was a pretty good player. So, you know, we all go back and say, hey, man, what if the Knicks could have waited, man, that summer, and they still could have added Carmelo Anthony because Carmelo Anthony went on record to say that New York obviously he treated him being from Brooklyn, New York, so it was a strong possibility that the Knicks could have got him and not have to give up anything in return during that year. So I think with the Knicks electing not to go for Giannis and going all in for Giannis is a testament to two things. Number one, some way, somehow, we're not going to see behind closed cameras, but I think they feel like they really got a good shot of landing him in the summer. Whether they give up the pieces that they give up, is still to be determined. But I like the fact that they waited a while because the number two thing is there's belief in that locker room. There's some belief in that organization as far as what this current team looks like and what do they have as far as just the pieces. They're one of the most deepest teams, if not the deepest team, in the NBA right now. So yeah, I just very interested to see what this next team is going to look at. I'm looking at the. I had to go back and look at that trade. So it happened in 2011, and they sent Danilo Gallinari, Wilson Chandler, Raymond Felton, excuse me, Timothy Vosgar, and some draft assets to Denver. But damn, you always have to think what it could have been if he would have had a prime. I think they also had Shump in that team. Somebody let me know if I'm wrong or not, but I think they had Iman Shumpert, who was pretty good around that time. But you had Wilson Chandler and Danilo Gallinari, who was still developing himself, but he was pretty good. You had Raymond Felton, who was he was having a good year that year. So I think for the Knicks, what they thought was they kind of like replayed their heads as far as what happened in 2011, and they were like, you know what, we're not gonna make that mistake again. We have a pretty deep roster. Obviously, Carl Anthony Towns. It hasn't been, you know, um, a Carl Anthony Towns like year, but he's still rebounding at an All Star level. Hence, why he was selected as a reserve for the All Star team. Obviously, the engine leads with the All Star Jalen Brunson, and which gets into me selecting him as one of my personal winners for the trade deadline, and them getting Jose Alvarado. Um, Guys, this guy is your prototypical New York He's raw, he's uncut, he's in your face. He's going to be a pest on defense, as he proved last night. I think last night he had 26 points, he had 8 3 pointers, and I think he had about 4 or 5 steals. I got to look up the stat sheet, but just a great performance. And that was pretty much his coming out party and just his third game with the team. So listen, I always feel a player is gonna play their heart out when they're playing against their hometown team, especially that he is a Brooklyn product. He grew up watching the Knicks as a young kid. Went to Christ King High School over there in Queens. So he's a thoroughbred. He's meant for New York. He has that New York grit. You saw him getting in the face in last night's game with former net Trendon Watson after the hard foul on Mitchell Robinson. And you want somebody like that. You want somebody that's gonna make noise and get in your face and not afraid to not only take the other teams, make the other team accountability, but also have his teammates take accountability as well too. So I love the addition of Jose Alvarado. It gives them, and especially themselves, considering the fact that Miles McBride is going to be out for the rest of the season with a core muscle injury. And shout out to Leon Rose with that because I think the one thing that these teams look is they look at how desperate a team is to add a particular player. So obviously he kept the injury as far as Mitchell Robinson on the ropes until after he made the trade, which I thought was fascinating because the Knicks didn't really have to give up much to get Jose Alvarado. I think they got it. It was a player, Jalen. I can't remember the name. Jalen and 2 second round picks that they got from Chicago, as they originally acquired him from New Orleans. So that was just fascinating stuff to see. And I'm telling you, come playoff time, say Brunson is struggling or McBride is not necessarily 100% there come playoff time. You got Jose Alvarado as far as his energy and the intensity that he brings. And you could tell he has a lot of pride. He has a lot of appreciation. He knows the history of the New York Knicks, and it means something to him. So considering the fact that he's wearing that uniform, he's been he's been very happy to say the least. It's pretty cool to see his mom, his dad, and his brother celebrating. But just to go over that trade for you guys, the Knicks had sent Dalen Terry, who they originally got from Chicago in the Ershon Yabusele trade. So it was Dalen Terry and 2 second round picks and cash considerations going New Orleans for Jose Alvarado. So I think that's a good move considering, it just makes the team, it makes the Knicks a much deeper team than they are. We did get some news about another player that perhaps is heading the Knicks' way, which gives you another floor spacer and another defensive presence. As Jeremy Shohan appears like he is heading his way to New York. The 23-year-old spent a couple of seasons with the San Antonio Spurs. The San Antonio Spurs elected to release him, and it looks like he is going to be a part of that amazing Knicks bench. I mean, if you really look at it, it's probably so much better bench than they had last year. And if you really want to go into last year's playoffs, I think that is the one thing that pretty much eluded them within their playoff run until they ran into a much deeper Indiana Pacers team, especially when it comes on the bench. So you got Landry Shamet, you got Miles McBride, you got Jordan Clarkson, you got Mitchell Robinson, you got Jose Alvarado. Let's just say for fun. Okay, Tyler Kolek. I'm not sure what his minutes are going to look like when McBride comes back. And now you're adding another defensive presence, a Dennis Rodman-like player that I like to call him, and Jeremy showing. So I love what the Knicks did at the trading deadline. Obviously, adding a guy like Najee Marshall would have been amazing, considering the fact that he has been a nightmare to the Knicks the past couple of games, including that 38 point performance that he had at Madison Square Garden last year. I saw that game in its entirety, and I was like, wow, I never even heard of that Najee Marshall until. So for me, that was his coming out game. So adding a guy like that would have been essential. And it's still not a guarantee that the Knicks are done making moves. A few players that were traded will probably be bought out, and if it's somebody like a Chris Boucher, I think the Knicks would be very interesting to have him as far as what he provides as far as size, durability, and just that floor spacer. You could nowadays. Obviously 3-point shots is so important and so essential, especially no matter what position you play. But just to get a floor spacer, some guy and a guy that's going to be a defensive presence is major key, especially if you're a team going for a long playoff run. Definitely something that the Knicks did. So we'll see if they elect him. Maybe Najee Marshall somehow gets bought out by Dallas. Maybe Robert Williams up out in Portland. Maybe he, gets bought out. Can you imagine Robert Williams and Mitchell Robinson, two of the best premier rebounders in the league on the same damn team? Insane. That's definitely going to be that's definitely something that we got to watch for. Moving forward, my losers as far as the trading deadline, obviously number one on my list is the Dallas Mavericks. You trade away your franchise player in his prime in Luka Doncic for for Anthony Davis, and you only get 29 games out of it. That was Anthony Davis' career in Dallas. 29 games because a lot of the portion that he was there with Dallas was due to injury. So it's tough. So they traded him to the Washington Wizards, obviously, and I'm trying to figure out what they're doing. I'm really trying to figure out what they're doing because I don't remember the last time I seen a team trade away two premier All Star players when healthy and got nothing to show for it. I mean, yeah, they went out and got Chris Middleton, AJ Johnson, but I mean, Middleton is obviously towards the end of his career. I think we can all agree on that. But I have no idea what the hell Dallas is doing in there. I don't think they have a clue on what the hell they're doing, honestly speaking. Philadelphia 76ers. Again, the vibe that I got when they traded away Jerry McCain to the OKC Thunder is like, okay, well, yeah, Joel Embiid, he's been in and out of the lineup, but this process that they have where they're resting him and they're monitoring his minutes, you can see within the past couple of games is he's sort of getting back into the old Joel Embiid. So whatever they're doing, please do it. Joel Embiid is one of the most exciting players in the league today when healthy. I mean, him and Anthony Davis, obviously, as far as health wise, they're sort of like in the same category, but when they are healthy, 25 and 10 in their sleep easily. I just don't understand why a team who is still in playoff contention, with Tyrese Maxey, you still got you got Kelly Oubre there, Joel Embiid there. It's still a rather good team, when they are healthy. So I just didn't understand the fact that you're still in playoff contention. If they were like the 10th seed and just go down within the Eastern Conference, then I'll get it. Okay, listen, try to trade one of your young assets and see what sort of draft compensation you can get, or you weren't getting any blue chippers, obviously, but to me, it just didn't make sense as far as what direction they're going, as far as still trying to compete but giving up one of your best young players, and obviously along with all the players that I mentioned, you got the young rookie and VJ Edgecombe there, who's going to do some good things out there in the city of brotherly love. This pains me to say this. The Brooklyn Nets. I also got them as a loser because um, well, I do and I don't. I think them parting ways with Cam Thomas. It was just listen. Great offensive player, unbelievable offensive player. Can drop 40 on any night. Doesn't play defense. And in this day and age, as far as the NBA player, you need to be able to put the ball in the back and you able to help your team on defense. I do like the fact that they kept Nick Claxton and Michael Porter Jr. I was scared for my life because, those are my guys. That's my team. And Michael Porter Jr. should be a damn all star. It's the same in egregious that he's not. But yeah, I don't understand that. But if you really pay attention to this Brooklyn Nets team, this is obviously a patience type of thing. They're gonna get better and they're gonna get good soon rather than later. But those are my winners and losers for the NBA trade deadline. I want to thank you guys for tuning in every week like you do. Please like and subscribe to the page below. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Happy Valentine's Day to all the lovers out there.